Commission speaks on cleaning of voters' register.
Judges discuss how to improve justice for victims of sexual and gender-based violence.
An attack on a petroleum company in Nigeria raises fears of renewed militancy in the Delta. GBC24, you're welcome to News Hour. It's also live on GTV. Good evening. My name is Yoko Kwakutre.
And I am Micheline Taka. Now to our first story. The Electoral Commission says it has not yet decided to extend the time for the limited voters registration. The Deputy Chairperson of the EC in charge of General Service, Ms. Georgina Opoku-Amankwa, told our news team the Commission has provided mechanism to address complaints of faulty machines and overcrowding at some centers.
The good thing is that what the Supreme Court is asking the EC to do is something that already we have put in place a program and doing that. We've had the limited registration that is ongoing, and so far so good, even though there had been some challenges and some hitches somewhere and elsewhere, which in some of the issues that border on criminalities, we are in discussion with the police. And this time around, the law itself spells out what should be done to some of such culprits. So we only deal with the police and have such people prosecuted so that we wouldn't have the incidence of such issues in the future. And then there are issues where the population is much larger than the team or just one registration center there. We are dealing with all those issues. Legon, for instance, we heard about it, and we are sending yet another team to ease the pressure there.
Meanwhile, the Electoral Commission says it has started processes to have the 2016 election results transmitted electronically. This is part of the electoral reforms recommended by the Supreme Court. The Deputy Chairman of the Electoral Commission in charge of General Services, Ms. Georgina Opoku-Amankwa, spoke on how the Commission intends to clean the register.
The electronic transmission of results is going to happen in 2016, so that one, the processes had started to have results transmitted electronically as per the Electoral Reform Committee's recommendation. And then in Kenya, for instance, we were asking them how they identify the people who are turning 18, and it's like for them you have to register with a national body, and you need that card before you even come to EC to be registered. And we feel that this is something that if we have it in Ghana, like the National Identification Authority, if they are cards, the National Identification cards could have worked like the Kenya experience, then we wouldn't have much of the problem of having minors on the register. It is not the EC to do this. It's a process that the government would have to put in place to ease the work of the Electoral Commission. The cleaning of the register, we have stated time and again that it's the exhibition period that's going to be used to do that. Right now, tentatively by our program, it is stated for ending of June. That's when the process would start.
Ghana has again received commendations for deepening democratic governance and having a strong electoral body. This was the outcome of a meeting in Accra between the Electoral Commission and commissioners from the East Africa. The two bodies shared ideas on best electoral processes and ways to enhance democratic governance on the continent.
The East African Community EAC is made up of 6 countries, namely Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda and South Sudan. Representatives of the Confederation have been in Ghana for some days now on a UNDP organized training on democratic governance, political integration, electoral reforms and capacity building on how to ensure that their electoral bodies are independent. They shared expertise and experiences. The Electoral Commission educated the visiting team on its structure, roles, appointments of its officials, and how it generally functions. The visiting team intimated that they were in the country to learn from Ghana, a country they rate high in democratic governance.
We see a strong institution which is founded on very strong foundation, given that since the early 60s, the late president of this country, Kwame Nkrumah, was at the forefront of democracy, trying to unite Africa, to ensure that we have federation, and you have kept that spirit through generations, ensuring that the mantle is being passed on peacefully without any bloodshed. And for that, to us, is a good experience, a good learning curve. And we would like to urge countries to learn from you.
In Africa, Ghana is seen as one of the best electoral management bodies. Unfortunately, in our own country, there are some perceptions that we would have to deal with it seriously in-house. But elsewhere, Ghana is seen as one of the best electoral management bodies. That's why our brothers and sisters had come here to learn from us.
The 15-man delegation encouraged Ghana's Electoral Commission to pay a reciprocal visit to their various countries.
The Supreme Court has declared as unconstitutional the law that bars persons accused of certain offences from being granted bail. Some of the offences are cases of terrorism, treason, subversion, murder and robbery. Illegal practitioner Kwame Waja earlier spoke to us on the implications of this ruling in maintaining law and order.
If you look at section 96(7) of Act 30, which is the Criminal Procedure Act, it had categories, like you said, like offences such as murder, treason, armed robbery, and others, and says that these are non-bailable offences. In other words, if one was alleged to have committed some of these offences, you go to court. A court of competent jurisdiction, which has got the capacity to try these matters, will not be able to grant you bail. And then the Supreme Court is saying that, I mean, from the petition of Mr. Martin Akpebu, he went there and said that, look here, if I look at the section of the law which is lower than the Constitution, it's not in agreement with what the Constitution says. That small section of the law, 96(7), was taking the powers out of the hands of the judiciary. So that now, if a person is alleged to have committed one of those crimes, that person would now be, if I want to put it quote unquote, at the mercy of the judge. In other words, it will be at the discretion of the judge to determine whether or not certain conditions can be fulfilled before bail is granted. The fear that it will open the floodgates is not another here or there, because you see, when a person is brought before the judge, it is the judge who would exercise the discretion. The judge would have to look at the circumstances that surround the entire case, and would, in his view, come to the conclusion that this person, when released, will not interfere with ongoing investigation, would come and stand trial.
Records available at the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit of the Ghana Police Service show that out of 1,291 sexually and gender-based violence cases sent to court last year, only 139 of those cases were convicted. The remaining 1,152 of the cases are still under investigation. The Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Mrs. De La Soa, described the situation as worrying. She was addressing judges from the Western and Central regions on improving justice for victims of sexual and gender-based violence.
A total of 15,749 sexual and gender-based violence cases were recorded in 2015 alone. Out of the figure, 4,500 cases were assault on women, 316 were rape cases, 1,180 of the cases accounted for defilement. Ghana, like many other countries in the sub-Saharan Africa, continues to experience high rates of gender-based violence. This is an unfortunate phenomenon prevalent in many families, communities, societies and cultures. It is to address this problem that the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, in partnership with DANIDA, is engaging with the judiciary. The dialogue seeks to bring together judges from the various family tribunals, circuit and gender-based violence courts, high courts and the appeals courts. This session, held at Mankasim, is for the Western and Central regions. The Deputy Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Mrs. De La Soa, spoke with GBC24 about the issue.
We are holding this series of workshops so that we can actually dialogue with the judges and then the law enforcement agencies and find out where the disconnect is, what is happening, where are the gaps, so that together we can close them and people can feel free and safer to report sexual and gender-based violence cases.
A High Court judge, Her Ladyship, Mrs. Hannah Taylor, explained why the statistics look scary.
At times, the evidence itself are not well preserved. Some may not report the incidents, and then they will wait far too long before they go for medical examination. And then it turns out that the evidence had been erased. There's nothing to support that indeed sexual assault had happened. There's nothing.
The Minister for Transport, Mr. Fifi Ikwete, has visited the regional offices of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, DVLA, in Accra. The visit was to inspect activities there and also devise measures to help improve services rendered.
This is the first time the Minister for Transport, Mr. Fifi Ikwete, is visiting the DVLA since his assumption of office some few months ago. The visit was to afford the minister the opportunity to have first-hand information about the various activities at the DVLA, right from inspection of vehicles to issuance of roadworthy certificates and driving licenses. The departments visited include the Biometric Capture Center, the Vehicle Inspection Center, Driver Testing and Sensing Center, and the Issuance of Certificate Center. On his tour, the Minister for Transport, Mr. Fifi Ikwete, expressed satisfaction at the services being rendered to customers. He was, however, quick to add that more work needs to be done to improve operations in order to eliminate activities of unlicensed operators, popularly known as Goro Boys.
I'm also happy about the automation that is going to definitely bring greater efficiency. Efforts, as the CEO pointed earlier, to generally improve the image, because I would say generally it's not limited to DVLA at all. It's been the practice generally that anything that is, governmental, people tend to believe that, listen, it doesn't matter, what we do. At the end of the day, we get our salaries.
The Chief Executive of DVLA, Engineer Noble John Appiah, said his outfit is doing everything possible to ensure that by July, clients who pass their driving license test get their licenses within 2 weeks.
After you've gone through the license process, you've gone through the test, and the test in two parts, what the theory test and the practical test. After you've gone through and given a certificate of competence that you have passed, the process to get the license now should take no more than 2 weeks. Currently takes more than 6 months.
The minister also interacted with some clients.
Yeah, you didn't go to any Goro Boys. I see. So it's been officials who have dealt with you. No one approved person has asked for any money to help you. I see.
The management of DVLA gave the assurance that the authority would work within its mandate to curtail activities of the Goro Boys. They therefore encouraged the public to deal directly with staff members of the authority in all their transactions and especially ensure that all payments are appropriately receipted.
For Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Ms. Sherry Aite, has handed over refrigeration facilities to fisherfolk at Nyanyano and Komate, both in the central region.
The cold storage and refrigeration network for artisanal fisheries began about 8 years ago. The facilities are to ensure safe and quality fish production and reduce post-harvest losses by 30%, thereby contributing more effectively to national development in terms of nutritional security, employment generation and foreign exchange earnings. The other 4 facilities are located at Ahaf Asene, New Takrade, Shama and Pram Pram. With the introduction of these facilities, fishermen will no longer be compelled to sell their catch at unattractive prices due to lack of storage facilities in the event of bumper harvest. The facilities are equipped with cold room, blast freezer, ice maker, working place, standby generator, electrical lifter and various manuals and a cold van. Ms. Sherry Aite was hopeful that the facility would help improve the income of the fisher folk.
Enam no we bunu botum ezibi ahye cold store ense na aton nkakra eda enam nyu ho no na wo so wonam owo ho ense na ono so ereton nkakra enti ozi ejuma beba na fesusu sika obeba yensem no ono so obokodo.
The municipal chief executive of Infantiman, Mr. Henry Kweku Heifren, was grateful to the government for the intervention.
With just 2 days more to end the limited voter registration, officials of the Electoral Commission at some polling centers are requesting for additional staff to cope with the growing number of new applicants. GBC24 has been to some polling stations where officials have admitted that the growing number of new applicants has put pressure on them.
The ongoing limited voters registration exercise will end on Sunday, but it appears many Ghanaians have become used to waiting till the last moment before doing important things. The ongoing exercise has been characterized by this kind of attitude. At the Islamic Research Polling Center at Nima, for instance, the number of applicants has more than doubled compared to the number that turned up last week. To save the situation, the electoral officers at this registration center were given 2 additional personnel to assist them. The 2 personnel are to interview applicants who do not have passports, national identity cards, or driver's licenses to prove their identity as Ghanaians. There are also to interview those who stand as guarantors for these applicants. Originally, each registration center is to have a team of 6 registration officials.
All start from Mr. Provided we are not from Mr. Rashid, who do the wrong. He's my superior. I am having my superior to my superior.
The registration officer at the Islamic Research Polling Station at Nima, Yahya Ibrahim, explained to GBC24 that the 6-man team could no longer handle the large number of last-minute applicants who were eager to register as the end of the registration exercise drew near.
You see the pressure here. We are having more than 100 people in the queue. How do we register more than 100 people by the end of the day?
However, some political parties are against the introduction of the additional personnel from the EC to support the registration process. For instance, the Director of Elections of the NPP in the East Ayawasu constituency, Mohammed Idrisu, protested against the idea.
If it didn't stop, then we will raise some issues so that everybody will come. EC should come, police should come, our party, our hierarchy should come so that we know why is he going ahead and do those kind of things.
On the other hand, the NDC representative, Mohammed Basiru, considered the measure appropriate.
And for me, I don't see any problem with that if he has an assistant assisting him in filling those forms. But if they are claiming he shouldn't do it, we need the EC officials to come and clear this thing to solve the argument.
The limited voters registration exercise is an opportunity for persons who have now attained the voting age of 18, as well as those who could not register in the past, to register.
Watching News are live on GBC24 and GTV.
Good evening, it's time to do business. My name is Esther Edu Ohumeu. A memorandum of understanding has been signed between the National Board for Small-Scale Industries, NBSSI, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and the Gratis Foundation. The agreement enables NBSSI and Gratis to provide technical support to small and medium-scale enterprises under the Rural Enterprise Program. The Rural Enterprise Program forms part of government's intervention to reduce poverty and improve living conditions in rural areas. Since 2012, a facility worth $200 million has been made available to the program, of which the National Board for Small-Scale Industries, NBSSI, and the Gratis Foundation are beneficiaries. To propel the shared growth and development agenda of the program, an agreement has been signed between the National Board for Small-Scale Industries, NBSSI, the Ministry of Trade and the Gratis Foundation. The director of the Rural Enterprise Program, Mr. Kwesi Atta-Entry, said the NBSSI and Gratis will be given the necessary support to enable them discharge their duties within the limitations of the program. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Eccles Gabra, urged the two institutions to strive to do more than what is stipulated in the MOU.
The Rural Enterprises Program, working with the National Board for Small-Scale Industries and Gratis, have made some progress. And that progress has led to a midterm review of that progress and some suggestions and advice on the future of the program. And part of that future is the support to National Board for Small-Scale Industries and the Gratis Foundation to enable them to be more mobile. If they're going to be part of a project coordination and monitoring, they must move around and see what is happening in the field. In addition, there are rural technology facilities which have been built in many parts of the country to train young men and women on the use of a variety of equipment so that they can't say they lack the knowledge. So if you lack the skills, there are training programs. If you want the money, there are financial opportunities.
The heads of the NBSSI and Gratis took turns to thank the ministry for the support throughout the program.
We as an organization would continue to open our doors and look for more collaboration with the program to ensure that we do not only provide the maximum that we have for MSC development in our country, but also take advantage of the program to build our capacity so that beyond the program implementation, NBSSI can be able to wet its sword to be able to expand and replicate the successes that this program is going to leave behind when it finally comes to an end.
What was at stake was the people that the Rural Enterprise Program was meant for, the rural folks, in trying to provide jobs and opportunities for them. And therefore, whatever challenges we had to face at the midterm review report, we had to come to ensure that what it is meant for the rural folks in terms of job provision and other opportunities is attained.
Two brand new 4x4 Nissan Navara pickups that cost $25,000 each were presented to each institution to support their operations. Data from the World Bank shows that 60% of the population in the African, Caribbean and Pacific ACP countries are within the age bracket of 18 to 30, and leaders of the 79 member states say that ratifying the Economic Partnership Agreement has the prospect of giving the youth in ACP countries the chance to access European Union with their goods and services. But this can be done when the youth is empowered to take advantage of the EU market.
Migration from Africa has dominated discussions over the last decade, but things got to a head after the death of 800 migrants in May last year, as well as the war in Syria. And as Europe faces its worst refugee crisis, the EU is stepping up efforts to contain migrants from Africa. Among the steps taken was a meeting held in November 2015 in Malta, which saw the EU doling out $2 billion to Africa as an emergency fund to tackle the spiraling number of migrants flooding its shores. The African, Caribbean and Pacific countries are also renewing their interest in the youth with a call to government in the ACP family to take into account the demographic importance of the youth as a priority. Data from the World Bank show that more than half of the population in ACP countries is within the age bracket of 18 to 30 years, but a large portion of them live in rural areas where agriculture is a source of livelihood. Delegates at the ACP meeting in Dakar described the situation as demographic bomb. It must be turned into a demographic dividend. To the The Secretary General of the ACP, the root of the migration problem is poverty.
All our countries will be able to address poverty, trade and investment, and also look at how, in particular, opportunities for employment by the youth will be provided.
The South African Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Landis Llewellyn, said the ACP member states need to pay close attention to issues concerning the youth because ignoring them will lead to radicalization and terrorism. He said a game changer is boosting intra-African trade.
Countries must constantly look for alternative markets.
High on the list of prescriptions to address the unemployment challenges facing the youth, which has compelled them to seek for greener pastures in Europe, youth entrepreneurship. The ACP also stated that the young entrepreneurs are up to date with new trends in the global market due to their capacity to understand the ICT and should be supported. Addressing the ACP conference, the President of Senegal, Macky Sall, called on the European Union to ensure that the entry requirement for visa for the youth from Africa coming to Europe to sharpen their educational skills should be flexible. He said migration has its good sides and the brush of economic migrants should not be used to sweep all who want to come to Europe. The Youth Employment Inventory Database, initiated by the World Bank, lists more than 260 projects on youth employment and entrepreneurship in ACP countries, of which 248 are in Africa, including Ghana. Out of the 248 youth entrepreneurship projects in ACP countries, Kenya alone has 131, 8 in the Caribbean and 5 in the Pacific. However, most of the youth entrepreneurship programs in Africa are yet to yield the desired results. Edward Nyako, reporting from Dakar, Senegal.
Back in Ghana, EcoBank is projecting to grow by 20% in the 2016 financial year. The bank recorded an impressive financial performance in 2015 by increasing its revenue by 19% from 858 million Ghana cedis in 2014 to 1 billion Ghana cedis in 2015. The bank also ended 2015 with profit after tax of 321 million Ghana cedis. It therefore declared a dividend of 0.84 pesos per share for its shareholders.
EcoBank is a leading Pan-African bank in Ghana with a branch network of 77 across the country. In the 2014-2015 financial year, total revenue increased from 857 to 1,023 billion Ghana cedis, representing 19% increase. Profit before tax grew by 3% from 446.941 million in 2014 to 458.560 Ghana cedis in 2015. Profit after tax grew from 319.965 million Ghana cedis in 2014 to 321.226 million Ghana cedis. Total assets increased by 16% from 5.8 billion Ghana cedis in 2014 to 6.7 billion Ghana cedis in 2015. EcoBank's capitalization grew from 798 million Ghana cedis in 2014 to 890 million Ghana cedis, 15% more than the regulatory threshold of 10%. Loans and advances saw 15% growth to 3.1 billion Ghana cedis. Total deposit also increased to 4.8 billion, recording 14% growth. The managing director of Central, Eastern and Southern African for EcoBank, Mr. Samuel Ashiteje, indicated that despite the economic challenges in the country, the bank endeavored to give its customers value for their investment.
Total equity stood at 890 million cedis, up 11% from the previous year, reflecting increased profit margins. Once again, EcoBank Ghana's credit ratings were affirmed at A- and A1+ by the Global Credit Rating Company. On the back of this performance, we propose a dividend of 0.84 cedis per share, up from 0.79 cedis declared last year.
In 2015, total impairment charges stood at 116 million Ghana cedis, representing 15% growth. But the acting managing director of Ecobank Ghana, Mr. Morgan Fianku Esiedu, says the bank has put effective measures in place to reduce total impairment charges of the bank in 2016.
We project to make about 20% growth, year on year, and we are very confident of our ability to achieve the targets that we have set for ourselves. I believe that all the things that we have outlined, including the steps that we have put in place to, as I indicated, deal with the issue of the impairment, because that's the only thing which held our numbers back. So I am very confident that 2016, you will see a very good results from Ecobank.
Ecobank say the bank's performance has kicked up in the first quarter of this year, an indication that 2016 will be an improvement over what the bank recorded in 2015.
Let's now take the interbank rates for today. The Commodity Board is up next. You're welcome to the Insurance News brought to you by SIC Life. The Chief Executive of Holland Insurance, Linda Odru, says several drivers of change, including new and rigorous expectations from regulators, have transformed the insurance industry. In an interview with GBC24, Madam Odru said these will lead to increasing demands on goods and services because players now deliver service that will make them win the trust and confidence of the customers.
Insurance is not sold, it's bought. So you just need to get the other person to trust you, that your products are unique, that your relationship is important to you. You can only sell insurance to people you trust, and people will buy from you when they know you have a track record. What is it that we use to pay the claims? You need a big balance sheet. And you need systems to make sure that when the claims happen, you are there to give them the comfort that they require. We also believe that business operations is not just run by strategy, it's run by purpose. Insurance is not just to pay claims. We are here to impact the society in which we work in.
And that was business. Thanks for watching.
All right, so weekend is in sight, and I believe you are looking forward to it already. It's time to do some health news. My name is Evans Achampon. Now, the Ghana Health Service is asking parents to invest in their children's health through vaccination against preventable diseases. According to the Ghana Health Service, childhood diseases account for high child mortality. The African continent is commemorating the African Vaccination and Child Health Week.
A child's ability to think, relationships and live up to his or her full potential is directly related to the synergistic effects of good health, good nutrition, and appropriate stimulation as well as interaction with others. A large body of research has proven the importance of early brain development and the need for good health and nutrition. A report from the United Nations Children's Fund indicates that early childhood interventions in health and nutrition programs increase children's chances of survival. The international community has recognized that investing in children is not only essential but an obligation as outlined under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Providing adequate vaccination is therefore seen as one of the greatest investments that will fight against childhood diseases.
We are all dedicating ourselves to the fact that all children should survive. We told that nobody should be left. All children should survive. And then we've also been told that if they need to survive, then we have to pledge for them good life. And if we want good life, they should start it right.
The World Health Organization estimates that about 3 million children under 5 years of age die each year in Africa. A number of these deaths could be prevented through vaccines. The WHO representative in Ghana, Dr. Owen Kalua, said receiving routine immunization is essential to attain the highest standard of health for children to become healthy and productive adults.
WHO support and the UN in general support for vaccine preventive diseases and other child survival intervention in Ghana is aimed at reducing morbidity, mortality, and disability due to childhood killer diseases. This support is provided through strengthening of the routine immunization activities, which focuses on the Reaching Every Child approach.
The Chief Director of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Afisa Zakaria, challenged the stakeholders in health delivery, parents and the public to work closely with the Ghana Health Services to close the immunization gap. This, she says, will ensure that all children benefit from the full complement of vaccinations.
Tremendous progress has been made in the domain of reducing childhood illnesses and deaths and preventing the spread of vaccine-preventable diseases. Yet we cannot tell our success story until every African country has learned from the great achievements of our sister nations that have already achieved 90% immunization coverage.
She advised all to make an effort to achieve the goals of vaccination as it protects children against more than 10 dangerous childhood diseases. Dr. Zakaria stressed on the need to let the children benefit from vitamin A supplements and growth monitoring under 5 while promoting breastfeeding and proper nutrition to increase their immunity and ensure optimal development.
Now, the 2014 Ghana Demographic and Health Survey indicates that last year, about 60,000 children less than 1 year did not receive their third dose of the prevalent oral polio and pneumococcal vaccines in Ghana. This, according to the Ghana Health Service, can be a threat to the polio eradication initiative and that of other vaccine-preventable diseases. It says there is the need for all to close the immunization gap to eradicate polio completely.
Philip Asari is a media practitioner who has been living with polio for over 30 years now. He says he was born a normal, healthy person until he fell sick at the age of 6. He had symptoms of malaria but turned out to be polio. Thus, he believes may be as a result of lack of childhood vaccination.
I mingle with the able people, so that also gives me physical strength because I try to do what they want to do. In those days, I don't think polio was common because around 60s, 50s, and all those 70s, I don't think polio was. And if it was there, the education was not like today.
Isaac Wadi, a trader from Eninem in the eastern region, was also not born physically challenged. He has been living with polio since infancy. He said he is suffering due to ignorance on the side of his parents. His parents believe his ailment was superstitious.
I have advice for Ghanaians.
especially parents, they should take things seriously when it comes to the health of their children. If they see any change, any problem with their children, they shouldn't have the mindset that maybe one witchcraft is there trying to harm them or something. The first point of contact should be the health facility, yeah, so that they can have a good health care for their children.
32-year-old Wadi is also a musician who campaigns for zero tolerance of polio through music. 56-year-old George Chaudzi was a one-time best agroforestry seedling producer in the Volta region. He shares his story.
I was told that I fell sick and my mother detailed a local dispensary and he injected me and that's all. I was 5 years before I was injected. After my elementary school, my father was not financially to take me. I was very good in school, but I didn't have any assistance to my secondary school. So I decided to go into farming.
Polio now survives only among the world's poorest and most marginalized communities where it affects the most vulnerable children. Ghana is close to eradicating poliomyelitis, which kills or cripples children for life. The country's polio eradication interventions, including periodic nationwide polio immunization and active surveillance activities, have yielded positive results. Since the outbreak of polio in 2008, no case of polio have been recorded in the country as at 2015. The goal now is to reach every last child with polio vaccine and ensure a polio-free world for future generations.
And that does it for health news tonight. We'll take a quick break and return with international news. Enjoy your weekend.
In international news, Nigeria's Navy says militants have attacked an offshore facility belonging to a multinational petroleum company, Chevron, the latest in a spate of attacks in the petroleum-rich Niger Delta region. The attack raises fears of a renewed militancy in the Delta, which was the site of an insurgency by communities demanding a greater share of oil wealth. The insurgency was quelled only when the government started paying off militants in 2009. Nigeria's Navy said the attackers dynamited a facility that collected oil and gas near the major export terminal in Delta State. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has finally signed into law a budget for 2016 after months of wrangling. He had refused to approve the 6.08 trillion naira, equivalent to $30.6 billion budget, amid claims of mismanagement and kickbacks among the officials who drew it up. The budget tripled capital expenditure in Nigeria. Some 34 projects will get extra spending to help revive the economy, including improvements to power, health, and transport. The budget is based on an oil price of $38 per barrel, slightly below the current global market rate of just over $40. Mr. Buhari delayed signing the budget after finding errors in the spending programs. The former military head of state, who has embarked on a widespread anti-corruption campaign since taking office last May, has claimed some lawmakers removed and replaced spending proposals. Delays in approving the expansionary budget have added to Nigeria's economic problems of slow growth and high inflation. Coming up is the sports news.
Welcome back. This is the sports segment. Ghana's first paracyclist, Alem Mumuni, has become the second Ghanaian para-athlete to qualify for the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. This came after cycling governing body union granted him a bipartite invitation slot to the Games. This will be Mumuni's second appearance at the Games after making history as the first Ghanaian Paralympic cyclist to represent Ghana at the Olympic Games at London in 2012. The news comes weeks after powerlifter Charles Nate became the first Ghanaian to qualify for the Paralympic Games after his performance at the Dubai powerlifting competition earlier in the year. Meanwhile, 4 other para-athletes are currently in the US battling to qualify to participate in Rio. The Ghana Football Association's disciplinary committee has ordered Accra Hearts of Oak to play their next 3 home matches in an empty stadium. The club has further been fined 12,000 for the misconduct of the fans.
Accra Hearts of Oak will play their next 3 home matches behind closed doors after the Ghana Football Association's disciplinary committee described actions of their fans as hooliganism in their league game against Wild Stars. Fans of the club invaded the pitch with bottles of water in an attempt to express their displeasure about officiating in the game they lost by 3-1. The home fans were in disagreement with the decision of center referee Ernest Befi, hence throwing bottles and sachets of water onto the turf. The Rainbow Club has hence been ordered by the disciplinary committee of the GFA to play their next 3 home matches in an empty stadium. The club was further fined 12,000 Ghana cedis for the misconduct of the fans. Hearts will thus play their home matches against Sekendia Zakes, Liberty Professionals and Dreams FC without the support of their fans.
The Toronto Raptors beat the Miami Heat 96-92 in overtime to even the series at 1-1. The encounter was game 2 of their second round playoffs. Take a quick break. We are back with the entertainment news. Stay tuned.
After premiering her Peace song on GBC24's Showbiz segment, 8-year-old Kukwan Shraba Mensah had the opportunity of meeting ex-president Jerry John Rawlings. Mr. Rawlings lauded Kukwan's effort at promoting peace.
Peace, we need peace, we need peace. We need peace. Ghana, our motherland.
Amen. Amen. What do you think of my voice too? My voice is like granite, like they've taken sandpaper into my throat. Wonderful. What's your name? How old are you?
I'm 8 years old.
8?
Yes.
Wonderful.
I don't want people to kill anybody again. I don't want children to die because the world is for we, the children. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. I have made a suggestion about this killing issue. I hope the nation will think about it. I hope our leaders will also think about it. It hurts when you read about these things. Maybe we should arrange for you to see the president, so you can tell him the same thing, okay? And I think you should also call on some of the opposition leaders, okay?
Okay.
And you make the same appeal to all of them, Nana Akufo-Addo, etc. Okay?
Okay.
Let's hope everybody will listen to your song and see the need for it, okay? Thank you so much. Oh, I'd love to see you again. This is nice.
Well, we surely need peace in Ghana. The Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts is educating players in the creative arts industry on the Creative Arts Bill currently in Parliament. The forum was also to solicit their input in the draft copy of the bill.
Bill will provide the legal framework for the establishment of the Creative Arts Council, which will serve as a regulatory body for the sector. Participants were drawn from regional chapters of the various groups in the industry, such as the Musicians Union of Ghana, Musica, the Ghana Traditional Herbal Association, the Actors Guild, students from the Applied Arts Department of the Takoradi Polytechnic, among others. The Director for Procurement at the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Mr. Edwin Mensah, reiterated government's commitment towards the growth of the creative arts industry. A principal attorney of the Attorney General's Office, John Eugene Yantinyadu, took participants through the provisions of the bill. Some participants raised concerns about the inclusion of other creative arts bodies in the bill and all broadcast contents. Mr. Nyadu assured participants that their concerns will be considered and factored into the final draft. This is the sixth in a series of sensitization forums organized by the ministry across the country.
And it's a wrap on the news for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again at 10:30 with News Tonight.